Hi guys, how are you? My name is Eunice Oyule. I'm a Kenyan. For those who have never met me, yes, I'm a Kenyan, and I am excited to start this journey. And so this will be very random, this first video, because there are a lot of things that I feel like I need to talk about. However, for today, this will be an introductory, let's say, video just to let you know what I'm about. And so, number one, I'm about mentorship. So, when you look at mentorship, you realize that it has very many forms depending on where you got your mentorship from, or who has been mentoring you, or how you understand mentorship. But one of the things I'll talk about in this platform is mentorship. The other thing I'll talk about is my life, my testimonies, the things I believe that God has done for me. And I can't just keep quiet because I've realized every time I share my testimony with people, they get very charged up to be able to want a relationship with God. So look forward to more of my testimonies as well in this platform. The other thing I am going to talk about is development issues. We are going to talk about development because my path is in development, and what that looks like is I believe that we have the potential and the capacity as Africans to be able to get where we ought to be. And I believe there's potential for Africa, a lot of potential for Africa to grow and become who we were always meant to be. So, development issues. And then what else? Government, governance, things of the sort. So, one of the things I want to share is how I got into the development space. So, there's this time I was applying for a leadership training, and this is just to let you know about number one, divine connections, number two, covenant relationship with God, then number three, like my life and the things I consider as success have always been defined by my relationship with God. And yeah, so that's what I want to talk about today. So what happened is, there's this time I didn't really, sorry about that. So there's this time I didn't necessarily have a career. I can't say I had a career. So during this time, what happened is I was looking for online courses because I had just dropped out of college, and I didn't want to stay idle. I wanted to upgrade myself. I wanted to be more knowledgeable. I just wanted to know things. So I decided to apply for a leadership training. And this leadership training was going to take about 3 months, and it was called the Inuka Leadership Training. It was a corporate leadership training. So I applied and I was taken in. I remember I struggled really much in paying for that training. It wasn't a lot, but yet I really struggled because I didn't have really a good source of income that would help me to take care of my bills and also pay for this training. So I remember it was really a huge sacrifice for me. So paid for the training, got in, then started learning. So in the course of learning, I built a strong relationship with one of the ladies who was also attending this training. Her name is Pili. Shout out to you, Pili. So Pili, by the time we are done with the training, Pili was like, there's another training, governance training coming up that I think we should apply for. And I say, cool, I will apply for it. So I applied for that training and I got in. So when I got in, I didn't know. Now, when I take this story back a bit, during that year in January, I had gone to someone's office and I saw a book called Why Nations Fail. And so that book, I really got interested to read about that book. At that point, I didn't even know I was going to get into the development space. I didn't know I was going to get into governance. I was just interested in that book. Hi, so sorry, my lights just went off, so I needed to look for a backup. So, what I was saying is that during that time, during that year, I had gone to someone's office and I saw the book called Why Nations Fail. And I got so interested in that book, and therefore, as you all know, I borrowed the book. So, when I borrowed the book, I went and read it, and it was so interesting to see how governments work, to see how taxes are utilized, and in turn, citizens ought to receive services that are commensurate to the taxes they give and all. So, I was so intrigued with that book. So little did I know that this book is what God would use for me to be able to connect with my mentor. Follow me. So I applied for this opportunity, this governance training, and I was taken in. And the first day, the ED to this organization, which was training us, introduces a lady and says she's a tax justice advocate. And when she said that, and she said also she has won awards, one of them is the Bremen Awards in Germany. And when she said that, I was so intrigued and I was just like, this is the lady I need to reach out to, because if she's a tax justice advocate, I need to understand what that looks like. So we were given a session where we would connect and just network. So during that session, I decided that I was going to say hi to this lady and possibly get her contact. So I went, I said hi, and we exchanged contacts. Now, during that time, after we had exchanged contacts, nothing happened really between the two of us. Nothing happened like in terms of career growth or anything. Nothing happened until a time later when she called me for a certain opportunity. And for me, I've always been available because what I knew is this was my way of learning, which God, like, this was my path of learning. So I knew I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity and learn everything I can. Yeah, and that's what I did. So every time she called me, I was always available to go, get into a room, get to know people, learn the things I need to learn and all. And so this one time she calls me after I keep on reaching out to her, and I'm telling her, I'm thinking of doing cleanups, community cleanups, and I would like you to show me what that looks like. I would like you to show me, if we want to do this, what does advocacy in that area look like? And for me, it was basically around environment. However, so she tells me that she used to look at me and see a lot of potential. However, it's only that during that time I did not know myself. I did not know what I was about. So she was just like, you know what? She'll learn, and then from there we will get now to work well. So she now narrates that during that day when she came to the training, that she wasn't supposed to come to that training. But her friend, who was the ED, pulled her into the training. And now, when I look back, I just see how God was orchestrating these things for me. And so this is the reason why I say my journey is of divine connections. My journey is that of favor. My journey is of a covenant relationship with God. So during this time, when she calls me into this opportunity, I meet a lady, and in this meeting, this lady is called Daisy Amdani, and I know some of the people who will watch this already know her. She is a women's rights advocate in Kenya, and she does a lot of work around women. She is the executive director of Crown Trust. It's a women's rights organization. So I get into a room, and Daisy, my mentor tells me that Daisy told her that she likes me, and that's how also Daisy took me in to start mentoring me. Some of the international travels I've had around climate change work, around coloniality conferences, it's my mentors who allowed God basically to use them to give me these opportunities. And so on this on Daisy's story, so Daisy calls me into the meeting. So Daisy, we meet in the meeting, we talk, and then after that, we also start working together. So when I say it was a covenant, upon a covenant relationship, which I didn't realize until something happened. So there's this time, even before I applied for the first leadership, the corporate training I told you about, I was in a public service vehicle. And in this public service vehicle, I kept on feeling in my spirit that my journey was that of leadership, like my path was that of leadership. And so I kept on telling God, God, may I want to be an ambassador somewhere. God, I'll be like, I just told God that, God, I will stick in your path, but by the time you're done with me, I also want to be an ambassador somewhere. Now, I didn't know God took those words seriously, not at all, until this day when Daisy calls me and tells me to go and share a 5-minute speech at the Canadian High Commissioner's Embassy. There was an event going on at the residence of the Canadian High Commissioner. And she tells me, you need to come and speak for 5 minutes, give a 5-minute speech. And so I went, gave my 5-minute speech, finished. And then by the time I was finishing, God told me that I have just started with you. Remember the time you made a covenant with me and asked me that and told me that you want to be an ambassador somewhere by the time you're done with this journey? So I was so shocked. I was so shocked. I didn't, when I was saying that prayer, it wasn't even a prayer. It was just something I said with my mouth. When I said it, I did not know God took it as a covenant. And that's how I got myself in the path of leadership, in the governance space, in the development space. And from there, I've had many opportunities, which I'll share from time to time. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I believe we are living in a world where if you don't have any higher thing you're living for, life may feel so hopeless. And I believe my story is one to encourage anyone who thinks their life is done, who thinks their life cannot have a meaning again. And just to share my story and say, there's something for you in life. There's something that God has, there's a purpose that God has for you. There's a work that God has for you. Work that you may not even think is supposed to be yours. Never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought that I'd be in the governance space. It was the last thing in my mind. But right now, I'm enjoying it. I am happy that God brought me into this path. And I'm happy that one of the verses just to leave you with something, one of the verses, every time I kept on getting into those spaces, because I knew I was not qualified, not at all. And if you want to know the level to which I was not qualified, I will tell you in my coming stories. I was not qualified at all. But I remember the verse that kept opening the doors for me is the verse in Proverbs that says, "By me kings reign and princes decree justice." Every time I got into a room, I kept on remembering that verse. I kept on remembering that verse. I kept on saying it, and I kept on telling God, "It is by you that kings reign. It is by God that kings reign. It is by God that leaders are made. It is by God that we are able to do what we can do." Because if it's not for him, then your life cannot make such a significant impact unless you're with God. So thank you so much for joining me for tonight. And I'd like to ask you to subscribe, share this, and comment. Let me hear your thoughts about this and also what God has done in your life. So thank you and have a good one. Bye.